Hello, I am Elizabeth R. McClellan, poet, writer, and current beneficiary of a fantastic benefit anthology that has been put together by Alexandra Aaron in order to help me recoup the costs of the rotator cuff surgery that I'm having on Monday. Now, in addition to being a poet and a writer, because, well, I'm also a lawyer, and I'm in my second year of practice. And so, some time ago, back in January, actually, right after this injury occurred, I wrote a parody of the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock on Twitter one day when I was working on an appellate brief, just in spurts when I would take my breaks. And it amused me, and it was funny, and it sort of shows where I am there. So, the table of contents is up for the benefit anthology. It is pay whatever you feel that it's worth. And there'll be a link to that project in the description. But when it hit $500, basically the first day after it launched, I said, I will do a YouTube video when it hits $500, where I recite my love song of a second-year associate, which is what my Prufrock parody was. It's on my Storify, and the link will be in the description as well, although what you're going to hear tonight is a little different, because, of course, when you write on Twitter, sometimes you get your tenses and stuff messed up. And I further said that I would do it in a silly hat. So I am wearing my silly convention-going hat, which is quite worn and quite frayed, and has a tendency to droop over my left eye, as you can see, but is appropriately silly in order for me to keep my promises. So without further ado, the love song of a second-year associate, with not very many apologies to T.S. Eliot. Let me go, then, and not cry. When the brief is spread out, its minutiae like a manuscript unbound upon a table. Let me go, down to the half-deserted treat, the bitter cold retreat of those who cannot give up their cigarettes, and probationers trying to avoid arrests. What will follow is a tedious argument of frivolous intent upon an already well-settled question. You know I cannot say, what is it? Let me go, before I brief it. On appeal, the pleadings come and go, trying to avoid the rule below. The yellow sheet that marks the checkout of the record, the yellow post-its that bear my questions about the record, spilled my desk into the corners not well dusted, lingered upon my to-do list, not ignored, left me flat on my back at their enormity, haunted all my nightmares, evoked a sudden eep, and as I see my week's calendar filling up, mocked silently that I might ever sleep. For indeed I must make time for the yellow page and all that lies beneath, indifferent to my schedule, my deadlines. There must be time, I must make time, to prepare a brief to meet the standards it must meet, though it forces me to not create, and make time later for the works and days of art, the emails that send questions to my cohort. Time for them, no time for me, and no time for any indecisions, hardly time for drafts, much less revisions. Before the deadline comes, mandatory. In the copy room, we come and go, talking of how this week will flow. In these days, there is no time to wonder, do I dare, and do I dare? Time only to rush down the exit stair, hoping no one comments on my rumpled hair. They will say, how does that braid even stay in? My plain white coat, my scapular tucked but visible below my chin, my long-sleeved black dress modest, unmarked by even a single pin. They will say, but how her shoulder swells within. Do I dare pause to eat my sandwich? In a minute there is time for my paralegal to make revisions before I sign the warrants of verse. For I have learnt them all already, briefed them all, have known the standards, burdens, facts required. I have measured out my life in hours billed. I know the appellants struggling against a certain fall, beneath a burden they cannot prove. But all this I presume. And I have known the form already, rules all rules that fix you to a formulated style, and when rules I have navigated, pages within limits, when it is briefed and the text laid in a wall, then how shall I remit and return the file to lead counsel? And how shall I resume? For I have known the court already, justices all, justices that are appointed, and white, but fair, but at oral argument sometimes a nightmare. Is it grief and pain and stress that causes me poetical to digress? Shoulder that will not stop hurting, or cat I laid to rest? And should I then press on, or take a day before I do begin? Shall I say, I have gone to 9 at docket call, and watched the smoke that lawyers blow around, seeking settlements in halls prior to trial? I should have been a public interest lawyer, fighting a losing battle with pure integrity. And the afternoon, the evening treads so inexorably, wrinkled by more concerns. Asleep, tired, but still I linger, stretched out, with the laptop open, between you and me. Should I, after dinner, smokes and vices, have the strength to soothe this client through their latest crisis? But though I have repped and researched, wept and stayed, though I have seen my head aching with migraine offered to senior counsel on a platter, I am no learned hand, and find it no great matter. I have seen the strength of my resolve flicker, and I have seen the judges read my brief and snicker, and in short, I was enraged. And will it have been worth it, after all? After law school, care and fitness, the bar, among the sycophants, among some talk of policy, would it have been worthwhile to disregard procedure with a smile, to have no ethics to discern at all, to say, how not to get caught is the only question, to say, I am Scalia, come back from the dead, though you thought I lived, I shall show you all. If the founders, reading Wickard et al., should say, that is not what I meant at all. Enhanced interrogation, shock, appall. And would it have been worth it after all? Would my work have felt worthwhile after the internships and volunteering and pro bono hours to abandon novels, seek after big law, after 6 figures with perks and more? It is impossible to say I would feel clean. But as if a neural scan through my nerves still sparking on a screen, would it have been worthwhile if some rich white man upon the golf course or at a formal ball, and beaming at me red-faced, should say, one of us now, that's all. You capitalized your potential. No, I am not John J. Hooker, nor was meant to be. Family firm girl, that will do. To seek out progress, file a deck or two, advise the firm, but ne'er a willing tool, deferential, but not for evil's use, impolitic, but cautious, meticulous, full of technicality, but not, fair to say, obtuse. At times, knowingly ridiculous, but set not to play the fool. I grow old, the weight of this will cozen me to fold. Shall I leave my soul behind? Shall I settle? Permit breach? I will refuse to compromise, or vacation on the beach. I will declaim verse of mermaids, learn and teach. I know the bar will never sing to me. I will write poems never destined for accolades, shaping stories to leave you taken aback, and do it still when called things worse than hack. I have lingered in the hallways of the court, drafting verse and snippets as time allows, prepared to do my work and not to drown. And I didn't drown. And the reason I didn't drown is because of my angels of the meanwhile. So please, if you liked this video, share around the link to the Angels of the Meantime project. Donate what you can, if you can. Anything is acceptable, even $1. It's pay whatever you feel like it's worth. We've got original and reprint work from some absolutely fantastic artists, authors, poets. Not that poets aren't authors, but you understand what I mean. We've got short fiction, flash fiction, poetry, visual art. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. I'm so thankful to everyone who's already donated. I'm so thankful to everyone who has boosted the signal. I am so grateful to everyone who donated their work and their time, to Alexandra, to Rose Fox, who is co-editing the project, and just to all of you. I'm very, very thankful. And hopefully I'll be able to keep doing things as the fundraiser progresses, but of course I am having surgery Monday, so we'll have to see. But if there's something else you would like to see, along the lines of silly poems and silly hats and such things, you can feel free to leave that in the comments. So thank you very much, and have a lovely night.